Conscience Guide Team by Sheepdog and Shepherd.
Conscience Guide Team 14.0. Normalizing evil or normalizing virtue.
The FBI, Interpol, United States Secret Service, United States Drug Enforcement Agency, and U.S. Marshal Service all have their most wanted lists. The people on these lists have distinguished themselves for evil.
Army civilian employee indicted in San Antonio for alleged $100 million fraud scheme. According to court documents, Janet Yamanaka Mello allegedly stole more than $100 million in Army funds by regularly submitting fraudulent paperwork that indicated an entity that she controlled, Child, Health, and Youth. Maryland husband and wife arrested in nuclear submarine spy case. The couple are accused of selling nuclear secrets included on a SD card concealed in a peanut butter sandwich. High-end sex ring in Boston and D.C. areas was honeypot scheme by Russia, China, South Korea, or even Israel to ensnare U.S. officials, intelligence experts believe. Investigators believe a network of high-end brothels operating in the Boston and D.C. areas was a honey trap to ensnare politicians and government officials. I was working in banking at a regional bank, and I found myself the target of a full-on attack by leadership. My personal code was not appreciated by the hierarchy. I did not play the game of lockstep. They began threatening me, threatening my family, spreading horrible false rumors about me, and even broke into my home. I found out that I was not the first employee that had been attacked in this manner. Others had gone before me. Throughout the attacks, I called on God for protection from this evil. I stuck to my values, and my conscience remained clear. Eventually, my boss tried to implicate me in her own wrongdoing, and I was fired. Later, the truth came out, and she was fired. The trauma from these attacks haunted me for years, but I have never regretted the decision to remain in the light of God's love, free from evil. I will always choose my eternal soul over money, power, possessions, favor, and any other temptation that threatens my relationship with God. Have you concluded that goodness is obsolete? Have you concluded that government, companies, and educational institutions serve as incubators for evil? Do you at times feel surrounded by people who think nothing of lying, cheating, stealing, and backstabbing? The realm of philosophy discusses whether the concept of evil should be abandoned from discourse on the basis that it is outdated or meaningless. If someone has stolen from you, ruined your reputation, cheated you, betrayed your confidence, assaulted you physically, then you would probably opine that the concept of evil is not outdated or meaningless. Acting in accordance with your conscience is a habit that is formed in childhood and continues to develop throughout life. This habit is tested by others and by situations repeatedly as you mature.
Would you like to be on a most wanted list for acting in accordance with your conscience, with virtue?
Each time you choose to live in keeping with your conscience by making decisions that value loyalty, fairness, justice, kindness, honesty, respect, courtesy, patience, etc., your conscience is clean and your heart is at peace. Unfortunately, some do not form a strong conscience in childhood, and they often make decisions based on greed, dishonesty, control, power, selfishness, and winning any way they can. They follow the orders of the hierarchy without question, even if they harm someone else or the corporation, as long as it will bring them a promotion or money or favor of some sort or keep them out of trouble. They support leaders based on power and risk reward. They manipulate to get ahead rather than work hard. Their loyalty is up for sale. They are predictable, which makes them safe, unlike those whose conscience guides them to act in keeping with the altruistic values they learned early in life. The men and women acting in accordance with their conscience follow a moral compass pointing true north. These men and women cannot be controlled by others. They act in keeping with their conscience. During the preparation of this episode, Conscience Guide team learned of a former CIA officer who was sentenced to 40 years in prison for what is categorized as the most brazen intelligence leak in U.S. history, and also of possessing child abuse images. For government-sponsored evil, look no further than Washington, D.C. Street vendors are permitted to sell stolen goods. A news report entitled, "Are Street Vendors Selling Stolen Goods in D.C.?" captures the inconvenient truth of government-sponsored evil. While the D.C. mayor and council members engage in finger-pointing and equivocation, crime soars for the residents of D.C., and crime has become a festering sore. While philosophy professors barricade themselves in their classrooms and suggest abandoning the concept of evil, your business was looted, your spouse or child was assaulted or murdered, and you received gunshot wounds resulting from a carjacking. Perhaps we need climate change. Conscience Guide team is not referring to Encyclopedia Britannica's eloquent definition of climate to mean the atmospheric conditions prevailing in a given region or zone. Conscience Guide team is referring to a moral or spiritual climate. Conscience Guide team intends to challenge you to place your political ideology aside long enough to consider what it means to have a clean conscience. What value do you place on integrity, loyalty, fairness, justice, kindness, honesty, respect, courtesy, and patience? As you face the prospect of departing this life, will you have a clean conscience, and will your heart be at peace?